Hello and welcome to this edition of the Potomac Local Podcast. I'm your host, President and Publisher of Potomac Local News, Uriah Kaiser. Joining us on the podcast today is Christina Nguyen. She is the Director of the Prince William County Economic Development Department. Christina, thank you so much for coming on the Potomac Local Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So we have been talking with many jurisdictions, each one of them in our area trying to do what they can do to help business owners in the wake of the coronavirus spread. And now the Prince William County Department of Economic Development is doing its part in a new series of webinars. Will you please give us the lay of the land here? What will you be discussing for small businesses in this series?
Absolutely. Well, and first, I just want to make sure it's Prince William is partnering with our Northern Virginia localities. We are part of the Northern Virginia Economic Development Alliance that comprises the 10 localities in Northern Virginia. And we really felt that the content in this series of this webinar was really important, that it should be shared beyond the borders of Prince William County and would be important for all of Northern Virginia. But when we, as a group, the NOVA EDA had gotten together, we had talked about how it was really important to get information and resources out to the business community, not just about the technical side of what the SBA or our wonderful small business development centers are providing in terms of how to apply for loans or answering questions, but more thinking about understanding from a business perspective and a business owner what they're going through, what they're faced with how the challenges of whether their business has been closed or partially closed or how they're operating, is giving them tools to really rethink about their business, think about how they're managing their staff, their operations, their logistics, how do they get more funding.
So you've broken this down here into three parts. You've got three phases, and the first is the Business Survival Toolkit, where it says you'll be talking about funding and financing, which so many business owners are looking for right now. Some assurance when there isn't any, really just try to find some funding, some cash to stay afloat. Yeah. And then you have the new normal, right? I guess adjusting to the new normal living with the coronavirus. Obviously, we don't have a vaccine, so this is something that is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And your phase three and the final in your three-part series is growth.
You know, I think that most important is really to think about who their customers are and how are those customers getting their product or seeking their product. And so, I'm not sure the stat of how many of Prince William County businesses are not online, do not have an e-commerce presence. But, one of the first pieces is really think about, like, if you don't have that presence, then, we need to really get you online so you start to market and be able to offer those services. But the other thing is to think about how in this new normal, and how things are changing, is where are those opportunities exist. We were talking earlier that many times some of the greatest innovations and the best ideas come out of crisis, because all of a sudden you see where this need is not being filled. We are still working our big economic development projects because it's exciting to know that none of that is actually slowed down. Everything that we hear from the site selectors and our real estate brokers is that those companies are continuing to move projects forward. But I will say, we have a very large small business community. Almost 10,000 businesses in Prince William County can be considered small. And so we have a handful of staff that are really actively engaged, really trying to help and talk and counsel these businesses.
It's interesting to hear you say that the projects are still going forward. And I talked to VDOT, a representative with VDOT, about transportation projects. Highway crews, they're still out there working. They're still building infrastructure. And today we had a protest in Richmond where many people went to the Capitol to say reopen the state's economy. There are people who are running out of money. They're no longer getting a paycheck. They're facing dire straits. Do you get a sense that the I guess the sectors of the economy that are still going could very well lead to maybe a phased or gradual reopening, could be the driving force of getting the economy back going again because these projects are still going forward?
I think because these projects are still going forward, I think that's going to help us. I think it's helping us. What's the word I'm looking for? Keeping us stable enough, right? That we still have construction. Our planning department and our development services department are still reviewing plans to make sure that these projects are still going forward. So it's a great foundation that's keeping some economic stability.
The three-part series actually begins tomorrow, Thursday. April 23rd is a Thursday. Why don't you go ahead and tell us how we can participate?
That we have a coronavirus resource business page where you'll see the future webinars as well as the registration link for the current one at www.princewilliamcounty.biz. As well as a business impact survey. So if they haven't filled that out yet, they want to go there and definitely fill that out.
Christina Nguyen is the director of the Prince William County Economic Development Department. Christina, thanks again so much for coming on the Potomac Local Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.